All right, we're in a Zoom call already. Let's talk a little bit about polls. Polls is a button that you'll have as a host, and you'll have to have a license account to have access to the button. But once you click on polls, let's say you've never done a poll in your session. What's going to happen is you'll have the poll that comes up and it's going to say, okay, what do you want to do? You want to add a question? You want to edit this poll? What do you want to do? So when you click on it, it does take you completely out of Blackboard or the Zoom call, and it's going to take you to zoom.us so you can set up your poll. So let's check it out. So I got to give it a name. And actually, I'll give the name of polling. My name for this guy. You can select it's anonymous, or if you like, you can also take it to where you'd hear or get all the information about the polling. And you don't see that in real time, but you'd be able to collect that information after the polls had been done, after the call has been completed. So then we can go in here and ask your question. So you might say, how well do you like polling? Once you got your answers in, you will have to save that poll here at the bottom. Now you have a poll that's associated with it. Now, it seems like you've been pulled out of the Zoom call, but typically you go down to your bar at the bottom, you can click on your Zoom call, you get right back in there. Your poll has been created and it's been ingested into your interface here. So if you're ready to launch the poll, you can't really do anything. No one's seeing anything at the moment, but once you hit launch polling, what's going to happen, it's going to pop up on everyone's screen, so they'll be able to hit that poll, and in real time you should be able to start seeing the polls jump in. So let me submit on that end. You can see that person submit. I only have a couple people on this particular Zoom poll, so it's going to be difficult for you to see multiple ones jump in, but you get the concept. Once you're done, underneath you'd want to hit end the poll, and you can kind of show that, and you look at the results for a second, do your quick reanalysis. If you need to relaunch, you could, but then you can hit that share results. Now everyone will be able to see the results of that shared poll in real time. So if I were to hit stop share, that disappears on everyone else's screen. It's always going to be on your screen. You're kind of control, so you just have to trust it's happening on the other end. If you want to really see what it's like to be a participant on the other end and you have a spare laptop hanging around, you could always join your session with a spare device and kind of mute the device, and then you can at least see what's happening on that end. That's what I tend to do when I do these sessions. But if you were to relaunch that poll, it would show on that other end. They would be re-entering it as though it was the first time. But I did want to point out a few tools that are on the poll when you're in polling mode. It shows that the attendees are actually viewing the questions, how many session attendees there are that can vote, and what percentage have voted. It also has a polling tally, because I know time is of the essence, so you don't want to have this poll open too long. So let's say 30 seconds, give everyone a little bit of time to get to the poll, so they're able to go in there, they make their poll, they hit the submit button, and then that information kind of shows up. Now the second I hit end polling, I don't see the poll anymore on my participant side. I just am kind of waiting for you. So you have to give some context. You have to be talking about it. I'm like, whoa, these are interesting results on the poll. I'd like to share them right now. So then you share those results. Everyone is now seeing how those results ended. And then you can hit stop sharing the results and kind of close out of that poll and can keep going on. Now, let's say you wanted to integrate your poll and you had a slew of questions before to kind of work on that. Let's see how that might work. In our polling video, you figured out how to set up a poll ad hoc, but what if you wanted to set up a poll and have multiple questions throughout your session? How can you set that up beforehand before even getting into Zoom? So here I am in Blackboard in my Zoom interface. The same thing would happen if you go into your normal zoom.us account, but what you'd want to do is you go to the particular session, you don't start the session, you just go into the details of it, and if you scroll down, you're going to notice that there is a poll section. Now, if you've added any poll questions, those will be in the total questions there. You can see I only have one at the moment, or you can just download the session and you can work to kind of import one. Now, you're going to have to follow along for a second because I've noticed some nuances about this that I don't particularly like, but it should work for you. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to download the template for the CSV file. So we're going to hit the save file as, and it's going to ask you to save it onto your desktop. Now, it's really important at this step to do this because I've been noticing that if you don't, you're going to have a hard time. Click to the end of here and click .csv. If you do not put this in here, you will not be able to open this file and edit it. Once you have the whatever you want to name it, .csv, you'll hit save. So if you open it in Excel, you'll be able to see the full experience. So here you go. We have the whole setup. First of all, you have column A. It's going to have a little bit of information about titling. Column B, they'll have information on the questioning. And C, that's going to have what type of question it might be. And then finally, the final one as to what kind of questioning you might have in terms of your answers. So let's go in, and it looks like at this point they just kind of input a few different ideas and how this might work for polling 1 and 2. So I'm going to start editing it, and I'm going to call this one made some very minor changes in here. I'm going to go back into my Blackboard where I'm also in my Zoom area, and I'm now going to click on the import CSV. I'm going to point it towards that poll. I'll hit open, and it's going to pull in those questions that you have. So now you have a polling kind of setup that you were able to quickly do without having to manually go in and set that up during the course. So what does this look like when you actually start the course? So let's start the meeting and check it out. So then you can just click on the polling button. You can jump between your different polls by clicking the drop down arrow button, jumping between those. You can edit the polls again if you needed to make some quick changes, launch, edit those polls. Now, if you had set these up so that users don't have to be anonymous, at the very end of the session, you would have availability to save these polls if you're recording the session, and you'll have options to look at who responded in which way.